Welcome to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher, where we take you behind the scenes with peak performers to learn what makes them tick and discover how you can apply their lessons to your life. I'm your host, Molly Fletcher. What if I told you that you can multiply your time? Today's guest, Rory Vaden, is here to tell us why everything we think about time management is wrong. He's the New York Times bestselling author of Take the Stairs, and his TED Talk has been viewed over 3 million times. He's also the co-founder of Brand Builders Group, where he teaches people how to grow their influence and build and monetize their personal brand. In our conversation today, we talk about how high performers think about time management differently and how you can apply their strategies to your life. This one will change the way you think about your time and how you spend it. Here's my conversation with Rory Vaden. So, Rory, there are so many productivity hacks and time management tools out there. But here's the thing. People seem, and we're hearing this, so burned out, and more so than ever before right now. What are some of the ways that we've been thinking about time management wrong?
That is frustrating to me, Molly, right? Is like, how is it that we know more about time management than ever before, but the average person is overwhelmed, burned out, busy, buried, behind, like whatever term you want to use. And it really is because of, I'll tell you, the number one limiting belief, which totally pervades through the whole workplace culture, is that you can't create more time. That is the thing that you hear, right? People say time is the one thing that you can never get more of. It's impossible to create time. You hear people say things like, we all have the same amount of time inside of a one day. And there's this whole limiting belief system that is literally trapped 99% of workers, that was trapping me. And so my whole journey of discovery here was trying to figure out, like, I'm doing every single thing I can. I mean, one of our national research studies, which we lead a couple every so often, and one of our national research studies showed that more than 30% of people say they will check email while they're using the restroom. Like, what could be more efficient than that? I mean, literally, there you are sitting down doing two things at once, sometimes three. And you're like maximizing every second. And that's because efficiency as a strategy has a point of diminishing returns. And if you want, we can talk about the three different, we call them the three eras of time management. But all of us think you can't create more time, and you can. And that is something that we figured out, how it's literally possible to multiply time. So like my TED Talk, How to Multiply Time, which is based on my second book, which is the title of the book's called Procrastinate on Purpose, 5 Permissions to Multiply Time. When we say that phrase, Molly, multiply your time, it's not hyperbole. It's not exaggeration. I'm not using it as a superlative. I mean that we have literally figured out how it is possible to create more time.
Okay, get me inside of that, because that seems sort of odd. I mean, you're telling me that a 60-second minute is not 60 seconds and 24 hours isn't 24 hours? Like, I can turn 24 into 48? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So the thinking that we have introduced to this conversation is all based around something called the significance calculation. So Dr. Covey in the late 80s, wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it changed the world. And he had this y-axis, which was importance, and the x-axis was urgency. But what we have noticed today is that there is a new thinker that has emerged, which we call a multiplier. And a multiplier is making a third calculation, which we call the significance calculation. And the significance calculation is what enables you to literally create more time. Now, here's the difference between the three. Importance is how much does something matter. Urgency is how soon does something matter. But significance is different. Significance is how long is this going to matter? In other words, what is the impact of this task that I'm doing right now on the future? And so this is how it is literally possible to multiply time. And I can tell you in one sentence, just to like cut right to it. So, the whole TED Talk, the whole book summed up in one sentence. You go, Rory, how is it possible to multiply time? It's this simple. You give yourself the emotional permission to spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. You spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. So it is true, Molly, that there is nothing that I can teach you that will create more time inside of one day. So we all have the same 24 hours, which is 1,440 minutes or 86,400 seconds in one day. I can't do anything to change that. But that's exactly the problem, is that most of us operate in a one-day paradigm. We wake up and we ask ourselves, what's the most important thing I can do today? But that's not how multipliers think. That's not how ultra performers think, which is who we really study. They ask a completely different question. They ask themselves, how can I use my time in a way right now that makes tomorrow better, that makes the future easier? And there are all different types of activities. We bucket them into 5 categories using something called the focus funnel. But there's 5 different types of activities that if you do these 5 things, they create more time tomorrow. You multiply time by spending time on things today that create more time tomorrow.
So is that how you encourage people to think about significance?
Yes. So when you hear the word significance, a lot of us think of it as more of the like emotional sense of like, ooh, this is a significant activity. Let's use an example here. Okay. So online bill pay. Right now, if I told you, I said, hey, you should take 2 hours today and set up online bill pay, most people would say, what a trivial, insignificant use of my time. What a stupid thing to do. Like, first of all, I don't have 2 hours open in my day, but if I did, the last thing I would do with those 2 hours is set up online bill pay. Yet, that is the exact opposite of how a multiplier would think. These ultra performers, in Take the Stairs. So in my first book, we called them ultra performers. In my second book, we shifted the term to be multipliers, but this is the same person, the top 1%. Well, that person knows that if they spend 2 hours setting up online bill pay today, if that saves them 30 minutes every single month from paying their bills, then after just 4 months' time, they will have broken even on that investment of time. And every month thereafter, for the rest of time, they will get something that we call ROTI, return on time invested. Return on time invested. The way that multipliers invest time is the same way that wealthy people invest money. And so it is a completely different way of thinking, which we know is necessary because the next level of results always requires the next level of thinking.
In your experience, Rory, what drives most people's decision-making when it comes to where they spend their time? Like what are most people think, the 99%, what are they thinking as it relates to where they spend their time?
So in Take the Stairs, so in our first book, we introduced these 3 different types of procrastination. Okay, so the first type is classic procrastination, which is consciously delaying that which we know we should be doing. But then we coined these other 2 phrases, which more aptly describe what I struggled with in my own life, and then, of course, what we see in the lives of our clients. So the company that we sold was an 8-figure coaching company. We had worked with over 5,000 clients. And then our company today, Brand Builders Group, our new company, we do one-on-one personal brand strategy coaching. So we have about 600 active clients right now. So we've worked one-on-one with people for our whole career. So the second type of procrastination is what we call creative avoidance. So creative avoidance is subconscious. It's subconsciously creating stuff for ourselves to do so that we can complete that as a masquerade for feeling productive. But really what we're doing is we're using it as a defense mechanism of avoiding the things we know we should be doing that we don't feel like doing, which is part of the Take the Stairs message. But for my guests, many of the people who listen to this podcast, right, they're game changers. These are top performers. The third type of procrastination is the one that you probably have to watch out for, because this one affects the very people who you wouldn't think to be procrastinators. It affects the chronic overachievers, the do-gooders, the checklisters, the taskmasters, like the executives, the entrepreneurs, the founders, like all of the people who you just wouldn't assume that struggle with procrastination, yet they do. And so this term is called priority dilution. And priority dilution has nothing to do with being lazy or apathetic or disengaged like classic procrastination or creative avoidance. But it's the same net result that we leave the office at the end of the day with our most significant priorities left incomplete, not because we're lazy, but because we have allowed our attention to shift to less important, but perhaps more urgent tasks. Somebody struggling with creative avoidance, their life is characterized as a constant state of distraction. Somebody struggling with priority dilution, though, their life is characterized as a constant state of interruption, always falling victim to whatever is latest, whatever is loudest, whatever is most recent. So to answer your question, different people, misprioritize their day in different ways, but for many of us, we're falling victim to what Charles Hummel called in 1969 the tyranny of the urgent. And if you even think about the way your inbox works, most of us have an inbox that is organized from the most recent email at the top. But the most recent email is almost never the most significant project to be working on. And so every time we go into our email, we're literally opening ourselves up. We're creating an invitation to be pulled from the main priorities, to be pulled from the things that drive the business forward, to be pulled from the significant things. Ultra performers know that the results we create in life is not about the volume of tasks we complete, but about the significance of them. It's about spending more time doing the few essential critical things than it is about spending a whole bunch of time completing a bunch of insignificant trivial things. Most of us are addicted to the trivial. Most of us are addicted to the menial. And when I say addicted, I mean it literally. If you look at a brain under brain scan, we know that dopamine is released when you cross something off your to-do list or you delete an item out of your inbox. And so we get this hit of dopamine, which by the way, I don't know if you've ever done this before, Molly, but I'm sure some of you listening, if you've ever completed something that wasn't on your to-do list, but then you added it to your to-do list just so you could cross it off. Why do we do that, right? It's completely irrational until you understand the neuroscience and the biology of the human brain, which is that you feel good. And many of us are addicted to feeling good. So we're chasing a bunch of diluted distractions. And it's a real problem because when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results.
I'm imagining your inbox, Rory, and I'm thinking it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's probably flagged. You've got files on the left side. I mean, I haven't ever seen your inbox, but I'm thinking it's that pretty.
It's the opposite. Okay. So this is where the title of my second book comes from, Procrastinate on Purpose. So I do have an assistant that checks my inbox full time, and they follow the focus funnel and we route things off. But to me, Molly, what is your inbox other than a way to put other people's priorities? Like an inbox is nothing more than a catalog of other people's priorities. So the way that I operate is not based on what other people's priorities are. I wake up every day. Now I'm an entrepreneur, right? So, technically, my wife AJ is she is the CEO, literally, and we've been business partners. So technically, she's the boss, but we're 50-50 owners of the business, so we're both the boss. But so I have the luxury that I don't report to anybody. But even when I had a board of directors, I still say, look, the highest use of my time is not spent in a constant, perpetual reactionary mode, responding to other people's fires that they're throwing at me. The highest use of my time is figuring out what will multiply the time of the organization. What will multiply my time? What are the things that I can invest my time into that create opportunity for all of us, for everyone around us? So My goal is not a zero inbox. I could care less about how many emails I have in an inbox. Now, what matters to me is that people feel cared for. People feel that I'm responsive. People feel that I'm available. People can get answers on things like that. But chasing a zero inbox, there's many metrics to chase in life. That's not one that I chase. And part of the reason why is because I spent years chasing it. I spent nights, weekends, sacrificed my health, time with friends, time with God, like everything, my own personal development, chasing after this metric. There were a few times, Molly, that I caught it. And in every single 100% of the occasions that I caught it, it lasted typically less than 3 minutes. And something else came in. And I literally was chaining myself to a 100% reactive mode of operating. And so, it's different where you're at in the organization, right? Like
Sure.
if your boss needs something, like you got it, there's, we can talk about ways to manage it, but no, my inbox is not a zero inbox because my inbox is not where I store my most significant priorities.
What is it that keeps, is it fear that keeps people trapped in the urgent and sort of the urgent and unimportant? And is it fear that keeps them reacting to other people's urgent? What is it that keeps some people stuck?
There are many things. One is our own limiting belief. It's the whole paradigm of the world that people assume working means doing email. Right? Like that's like what we equate as like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed because I have a lot of emails. So it's like, well, a lot of times, like in our company, everyone in the company, each person only has 3 KPIs. No one in our company has a KPI that's
Right.
attached to their inbox. Like it's attached to a result that they create in their position. We're entrepreneurs, so we have a lot of flexibility in how we operate and do things. But we have scaled, an 8-figure business on our way to another one. We've had 5 different multi-7-figure businesses, but the inbox is not the conversation, right? It is what you're saying. It's the emotion. It is underlying fears. So there's 2 key differences in how ultra performers or multipliers think about time compared to everyone else. The first one is the significance calculations. That's what we talk about. The second one is sort of funny, Molly, because I learned this one not from any academic research, not from statistical sampling or polling, not from any of our, in-field training with our real-life clients, but I learned this from a 3-year-old. And I was at a colleague's house, this is several years ago, and it was a Saturday, and we had this like leadership planning retreat. And so we were trying to sneak out the door. So I came and picked him up early, and we were leaving, and he has this daughter she was sleeping and she heard us, and she came running out of her room, and she comes like sprinting down the hallway, and she leaps and she grabs on to his leg, and she says, "Daddy, where are we going?" And he looks down at her and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, baby. Daddy has to go to work today." And her little eyes well up with tears. And she says, "No, Daddy. Please, no more work." And in that moment, Molly, I realized 2 things. The first is I'm not ready for children quite just yet. But that was several years ago. We now have 2 kids. We have 2 toddlers, in fact. We've been living in the toddler life. We have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. But actually, the thing that hit me in that moment was that every single thing that I've ever learned about time management was all tips and tricks, tools and technology, calendars and checklists, apps, flowcharts, file structures, naming conventions. In other words, 100% of everything I'd ever been taught about time management was all logical. And it hit me in that moment that today, time management isn't just logical. Time management is emotional. And it is our feelings of guilt and fear and worry and anxiety, our desire to be successful and to feel valued and to feel important. Those things end up at a subconscious level dictating and driving and determining what we actually spend our time on, as much as anything that's on our calendar or on our to-do list or in our inbox. But most of us haven't been educated on it. And so those emotions are operating underneath the surface, right? And so we're driving to a zero inbox because it's some measure of making us feel like we're winning. It feels like this thing that we can control. Meanwhile, we might be ignoring a whole host of things that in our job function that actually drive the business forward. Some of us are saying yes to every invitation we get because we feel guilty about saying no. Meanwhile, we are ignoring our families and we're not spending time with them, or we're ignoring our health. So I can't tell you what the right answers are. You got to make your own decisions in your own life. But what we're trying to do is bring to the surface a paradigm and a mode of thinking that very few people in the world understand. And they are these people who, you would call them game changers.
Hi there, it's Molly. I've got some exciting news to share. I'm thrilled to announce I've launched my first ever on-demand course, Up Your Game. Unlock the drive to fuel next level success. Have the past few years left you burned out and stretched thin? Like, despite your success, you know you're capable of more. Maybe you've lost your purpose and that inner fire to pursue your dreams. If so, you are not alone. So many of us have been there. As a top sports agent for 15 years, representing and working with the best of the best, I've seen and helped countless people unlock their drive to accomplish great things and finally live out their dreams. That's why I've crafted a brand new on-demand course to help you unlock your potential to fuel next level success. In my new course, Up Your Game, I share the critical 8 keys that you absolutely must use to get unstuck and to finally realize your fullest potential. This course, it's not inspirational fluff. It gives you action guides so that you can apply it to your life and take action right now. So are you ready to up your game? Sign up for my new course today at mollyfletcher.com/course. That's mollyfletcher.com/course. I can't wait for this course to change your life in incredible ways. Check it out. You know, I spent decades in the world of sports, and I saw the best athletes constantly ask themselves, what deserves my attention? What deserves my energy? Instead of reacting to the level of demands coming at them, they had to focus on the things that kept them doing what they worked so hard to get there to do versus reacting. I had a baseball player, Rory, once, I'll never forget it. He was sitting in my office. He was a projected first-round draft pick, came from a middle-class family, unbelievable young man. And as he was preparing to get drafted in the first round for several $1 million, there was all kinds of opportunities coming in. Card signings, speaking engagements, autograph signings, endorsements, hundreds of thousands of dollars of off-the-field opportunity. And I said, hey, look, man, here's some things that are coming in. And we were sort of looking at them and evaluating these opportunities as he prepared. And he said, this is awesome. He said, but here's what I know. I have to focus on the things that are going to get me and keep me in the big leagues.
Amen.
And that is my priority. And all these opportunities, appearances, engagements, signings, they'll all be there when I get to the big leagues. But all these are going to be distractions for what I need to be doing most. And I was blown away and impressed with a young man at that age walking away from an opportunity to write a check for his parents' house. Walking away from an opportunity to say, Mom and Dad, Mom, you don't have to work anymore. Dad, you don't have to work. I got you. Instead of, hey, hang tight. I'm going to be there in a hot minute. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's powerful stuff and it's important. I always love to ask people, what do you want on your tombstone? What do you want people saying about you at your 90th birthday party, right? And I think when we keep that at the top level of every decision that we're making, it helps us know that when we're saying no to one thing or yes to one thing, we're actually saying no to something else. And sadly, it could be saying no to the things in our lives that we value the most, that matter the most. So
they often are. I mean, if you're not consciously saying no to the things that don't matter, you end up unconsciously saying no to the things that do matter. And that's such a great example. That's a perfect illustration of the significance calculation, right? It's not that he doesn't want the money. It's that he's going, I'm thinking longer term. I'm extending my time horizon. In the big picture, I got to keep the main thing the main thing. I can't go chasing these rabbit trails. And that, by the way, is discipline. So the second book is about how to multiply time. The first book, Take the Stairs, is around the psychology of increasing your self-discipline. And in Take the Stairs, we talk about these 7 key distinctions that the most disciplined people in the world have that other people don't. And the first one's called the paradox principle of sacrifice. And we talk about how these ultra performers leverage long-term vision to endure short-term sacrifice. That is one of the mechanisms. Like your story perfectly illustrates that. Is they go, no, I see the big picture here, and I love that.
Yeah, it's powerful. So get me inside of this focus funnel a little bit more. It's a powerful tool. You lean into it, it sounds like, consistently. Get folks inside of that and how they can use it, how we can use it.
If you say, how do you multiply time in one sentence? And, just to recap, already said this, you give yourself the emotional permission to spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. That's the core idea of the whole TED Talk, of the whole book or whatever. But then you go, okay, how, that's what to do. Then you go, how do I do that? When we break it down, there's 5 core buckets of types of activities that we put it together in this tool called the focus funnel. So the focus funnel, Molly, is meant to be a visual depiction that codifies the thought process that these multipliers go through in their heads when they're deciding what they should do and what they should not do. And so if you just picture a funnel, and at the top of it coming in is like all of your opportunities, all of your stuff, all of your tasks, all of your emails, all of your to-do items. So the very first strategy is eliminate. Okay, so we ask, can it be eliminated? We could talk about whichever ones of these you want to dive in on. So, but the full methodology is all 5. So you first ask, can this be eliminated? If it can't be eliminated, then it drops down to the middle part of the funnel, which is, can it be automated? If it can't be automated, then it drops down to the bottom of the funnel, which is, can this be delegated? If it can't be eliminated, automated, or delegated, then at that point, you know you have a task that must be done, and it must be done by you. And there's one key remaining question. And that question is, must this task be done now, or can it wait until later? If the task must be done now, we call that concentrate. So it's not eliminate, automate, or delegate, it's concentrate. It's giving yourself the permission to protect. And in each of these 5 strategies have a corresponding emotional permission. The emotional permission for concentrate is the permission to protect. Basically, it's giving yourself the permission to ignore all else because you've decided that this thing is the thing that will most multiply your time. Now, if the task must be done by you, but it doesn't necessarily need to be done right now, then that is where we are encouraging you not to eliminate, automate, or delegate, but to procrastinate on purpose, which is where the title of the book comes from. You procrastinate on purpose. So we call that POP for short. Now, when you procrastinate on purpose, you don't procrastinate on it forever. All you do is you pop it back to the top of the focus funnel. And at that point, it enters into a holding pattern where it is cycling through this focus funnel. And it just remains in that holding pattern until at some point in the future, one of the other 4 strategies, eliminate, automate, delegate, or concentrate, will be enacted upon whatever that is. Often, when you realize if the answer to must this be done now is never yes, if it is always no, you pop it to the top of the funnel, very often you will realize that you need to do what you should have had the courage to do in the first place, which was to eliminate it altogether. What's really cool about the focus funnel is it's very simple. It's meant to be simple. It's meant to be fluid because the world is so fast, right? Like if the world is changing so fast, to me, flagging system and calendars and things like that, it doesn't mean that those are bad. Like you can still use all of those. You could set those up using the focus funnel as your categories. It just means that working with our clients, and we have high profile clients. We have especially today, we have celebrities, we have people who have the biggest podcasts in the world. Your example, one of the biggest speakers in the world. We've got lots of New York Times bestselling authors and billionaires. We have many billionaire clients. These people have so much coming at them that it's like a perpetual reprioritization. Like the idea of sitting down on Sunday night and planning out my week, it's not that that's a bad idea. That's a great idea. The problem is you can have the perfect plan, and Monday morning at 7:15 a.m., something happens that blows up, and it takes your plan and it laughs in its face and says, bye-bye plan. Like the world we live in is perpetual information, perpetual change. And so we have to be able to adapt in a faster response time. At this point, most of my focus funnel, I just cut right to the chase, which is this activity. Does this help me multiply my time? Does this help me multiply my results? Education is a multiplier. Like I've always found that to be something that people deprioritize. It's something that I prioritize. I know that one idea at the right moment can multiply my business. Relationships are great multipliers. Your health is a multiplier. Depending on what your spiritual beliefs are, literally it can add eternal years to your life.
Right.
Those are things that are immovable often for me. But, through the course of just my day, I'm at a place where I have an impossible amount of volume coming at me to keep up with. And I don't think that it makes me that special these days. I think there are a lot of people. I'd say 80% of our clients are probably in that category. So it's less about having a to-do list and it's more about having a not to-do list.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's being clear on what is going to move this forward. And so for me, Molly, with AJ, AJ and I spend a couple hours every week together kind of talking about what's going on. And then
you spend more than a couple hours a week. I mean, don't you sleep with her?
Well, I just mean on work stuff. Yeah, we are sleeping together. So, but we were business partners before we started dating. So we dated. We were business partners for like a year in our former business. Then we started dating. Then we dated for like 2 years. Then we got married. So we've been married for 12 years, but we've been business partners longer than that. But
oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah. But we try to not do work talk after hours. So that's like a thing that's we try. So we do a morning hike every Monday. So from like basically like 8:30 to 11 every Monday, we go on a hike and we just sort of do like what's on the top of your radar, what are our biggest objectives for the week. I do collaboratively set them because we're both business partners and life partners. And so part of the permission to protect, so this is down in the concentrate section, you're just asking about me personally, is realizing that until you accomplish your next most significant priority, everything else is a distraction. So I view things as like I have one priority and everything else is a distraction. I think how most people think is everything is a task that must be done. And then when I have time left over, I will dedicate it to whatever the priority is. And it's hard. It's no wonder why people are burnt and stressed and overwhelmed, exhausted. They feel like it's impossible to keep up because it is impossible to keep up.
So I'm thinking about eliminate, automate, delegate. Do you have you created repeatable items in your life that at your age and in the success you've had that I would imagine are consistent things in your life that you automatically eliminate? Because I would imagine when you comes in, the opportunity arises, the system around eliminate must exist. The system around, okay, this is something that I generally want to automate. These are generally things. Do you have a system around that to automate the 3 buckets of the funnel for efficiency?
So in eliminate the exercise, so like when people come through our course and our event on multiplying time, the exercise there is something called the yes/no list. We ask all these series of questions to help people get super clear on what are the automatic yeses and what are the automatic nos. That then becomes a mechanism not only that you implement, but like, for example, with my assistant, she is able to process a whole number of things that come in because she has standard responses, things she knows I'm going to say no to, et cetera, et cetera. And there is a list. There's actually an eliminate, like these are things that I just, I get asked for frequently that I don't do. Automate is my personal favorite. I think most people respond most powerfully to our delegate training. To me, automate is so super powerful because anything that you create a process for today saves time tomorrow. One of the things that we talk about is automation is to your time exactly what compounding interest is to your money. Automation is to your time what compounding interest is to your money. So just like compounding interest takes money and it turns it into more money, automation takes time and it turns it into more time.
Hi again, it's Molly. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're a go-getter who wants to conquer overwhelm and sharpen your focus, I want to let you know about my new free webinar training, Purposeful Productivity. This free webinar gives you a framework to unlock more energy for what matters most and to finally beat burnout. Head over to mollyfletcher.com/webinar to access this free training and my new life-changing energy management framework. That's mollyfletcher.com/webinar. You're a content ninja warrior, man. I mean, you're almost... Where would they get more on this, on time management, on procrastinating on purpose, on multiply time?
Yeah. So basically, Molly, I view my expertise, my level of study as influence. And I define influence as the psychology of moving people to action. So my central framework of Rory Vaden is something we call the 4 levels of influence. So level 1 influence is influencing yourself. It's personal development. Our whole conversation today is just one narrow sliver of all the stuff we talk about there. So take the stairs, multiplying time. It's all about influencing yourself, how to get yourself to do things you know you should do that you don't feel like doing. The psychology of overcoming procrastination, conquering impossible goals, becoming a 1%er. That's level 1 influence. Level 2 influence is sales, which is influencing another person. So that is, what do you say to people? How do you open these relationships? How do you open the conversations? How do you guide a conversation for a transaction to take place, for you to inspire someone to take an action, typically buying from you? Level 3 influence is leadership, which is moving a team of people to action. So I've gone from moving myself to moving an individual to now, how do I motivate a team to action? And then level 4 influence is moving a community to action, right? So our personal branding clients like Lewis Howes and Ed Milet and Tom and Lisa Bilyeu and Eric Thomas, these are people with millions of followers, right? And when we're coaching them, we're creating, millions or hundreds of thousands of people to take an action. And that is a whole art form. All of this, our entire curriculum all comes together as 14 courses, which people actually get access to for an insanely low amount of money. It's just a monthly fee, and they get all 14 of them. So, or they can do that plus one-on-one coaching. So if you go to the best place to go to answer your question specifically is go to freebrandcall.com/Molly Fletcher, freebrandcall.com/Molly Fletcher. And actually you can request a call with our team and we actually talk to you and figure out, all right, where are you on this 4 levels of influence? Are you really in a mode of, I need to get myself, activated? I'm more in a sales role. I'm trying to motivate other people. I'm more of a leader, or more of I'm trying to build a community and build a social following, or, maybe write books or build a speaking career, and we'll point you in the right direction. So freebrandcall.com/Molly Fletcher.
And I just have to say, Rory, I was fortunate enough to be introduced to you and AJ and the whole Brand Builders team. Gosh, what it was about a year and a half ago. And I remember several of our initial conversations, and I just fell in love with your content. And then when you say it's a deal, and when you say it's 14 courses, I remember calling you once I got my login and got in there. And we also have a coach that we work with, my head of marketing works with. But I remember calling you. I don't know if you remember. And I was like, dude, do you sleep? Because the amount of content, when I explain it to people, I'm like, look, it's one topic. And so you go, oh, okay, well, captivating content. Okay. When I talk about it is like hours and hours of video. But here's the thing. I remember my printer broke because I'm a 50-year-old old lady. So I'm printing it.
But you're printing our workbooks out?
Oh, I have a whole notebook, Rory. And the notebook is this thick. And I have it all organized with all my da-da-da-da. And I remember just being like, this guy doesn't sleep. How did they do this? I mean, not only did he record all these, but then the copy and the collateral that goes with it. I mean, the level of detail, it's really good stuff. And it's. I think that was a cool connection that you made, Rory, because at some level, if I'm listening, I'm like, what the heck does time management and prioritization and procrastinating on purpose, what the heck does that have to do with personal branding, which is your business now? But it has a lot to do with it, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I know you had AJ, who's my wife and our CEO of Brand Builders Group, who was on. I mean, first of all, when people think of personal branding, they often errantly think websites, social media, like email, podcast, YouTube, and they're not thinking about it right. The way that we define personal branding is that personal branding is simply the digitization of reputation. Like, don't get lost in the modern day technology and tools. This is about your reputation. That concept is as old as time, right? And so we all have to care about our reputation, and that's why it matters. It's not about having millions of followers. It's about putting our reputation out there in a way that we're proud of so that people know who we are, what we believe in, what we're about, and what we are trustworthy of. That is what we would define as level 4 influence. You know, it's all the 4 levels of influence. You learn to influence yourself, then you have to learn to influence another person, then you need to influence a team, and then you need to learn to influence a community. And that's how you change the world. So what we're trying to do is multiply the messengers. We're trying to go, how can we create the templates and the tools and the processes so that mission-driven messengers like you, which is the people we love, is going, we want the people who want to make a difference in the world. We want the people who go, I actually care about making the world a better place. They like making money. We like making money. It's just money is subservient to the mission. We're looking for people who go, I want to dedicate my life to solve a problem in the world. I want to dedicate my life to helping other people do something that I've done. We fundamentally believe you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. And so we're fascinated with our clients. Like we're enamored by our clients. We want to know, what is your story? How did you become who you are? And part of the reason why is because we know there's a whole group of people out there in the world who are trying to do what you've done. And our job is to help you connect back to those.
Rory, I love it. All right, we're going to hit rapid fire. And you like it? You ready to go?
I'm ready.
You got all these one-liners, so I know your pillar points. All right, here we go. Book you recommend most?
Well, I mean, the Bible for sure, of which my favorite book is James. That's my favorite book of the Bible. If you're saying like a business book, I mean, there's so many, like Total Money Makeover or Financial Peace University by Dave Ramsey. We recommend that a lot.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Best advice was from Larry Winget. And Larry Winget said, Rory, the goal, this is in the space of personal branding. He said, the goal is to find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. Find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others.
In the last year, what new habit has most improved your life?
Probably infrared sauna. I do an infrared sauna like 5 days a week. And it's a good way, like, you know, to just do, like, I'll read my devotional and I will, you know, look at a couple things. But, you know, I just have that sort of quiet time in the morning. Yeah.
What is one of the most worthwhile investments or purchases you've made recently?
I just got LASIK eye surgery.
Oh, wow. I didn't know this.
Amazing.
Okay.
It's like 3.5 minutes per eye was like the actual surgery itself was like so fast, you know, and then 7 days later, I am like perfect, almost near perfect vision. I mean, really amazing.
What are you reading, watching, or listening to right now?
Right now, I am reading a book. Mostly, I read business books. As AJ says, she says, all you read is boring business books. That's mostly what I read. Right now, I'm reading a book called Heaven by Randy Alcorn. It's fascinating because he talks about, all of us think of heaven as like this place where there's people playing harps and we're on clouds and we sing worship songs. And he takes a completely scriptural based approach and shows how heaven is nothing like that heaven is way more exciting, that heaven looks more like the best parts of earth, and it's the new earth, and it's a life-changing book.
My sister-in-law picked that book up when her dad died unexpectedly, because I think
Really?
Yeah, she said, I want to understand better where he is.
Yeah.
Because it was so sudden and so traumatic for her. And anyway, sounds like an incredible book.
It is. Well, and like Molly, I've been a Christian for, much of my life. And like the idea that I've always been taught like, oh, heaven is a place you go to after you die. And the whole idea is like, there is a temporary heaven, which is where people that have died have gone. But for none of us is that our ultimate destination. Our ultimate destination is the new earth. It is the restoration and recreation of the earth. And I'm like, how have I been a Christian my whole life and missed that? Like, how did I never get taught that, never see it? I mean, it's life-changing. Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to check it out. I haven't checked it out yet. All right, so the show's called Game Changer. So one last question. Who or what is a game changer that inspires you, Rory Vaden, and why?
Genuinely, right now, like in my life, I am so inspired by AJ, my wife, our CEO. Like, she does so much. It's astounding. Running the business, running the house, running the family, like, managing all the different components of the business, speaking, selling, like, she inspires me. I would connect that to like moms. I was raised by a single mom, and I just go, man, moms are amazing. Like, moms freaking blow it out of the water with the amount of stress, and just, you have a bad day at work, fine, you're done. I mean, but you moms, it's just like there's never a day off. Like, there's no.
I wonder if there's a chapter in heaven about moms and what it's like for us up there.
There should be a special section for just moms.
Let me tell you something. I just have to just props to AJ. I mean, I had met you, and then I came to a BBG event in Nashville, and I'm like, who's AJ? Like, she's a CEO, but like Rory seems pretty solid. Like, he's the man too. Like, what's the deal here? How does this work? And I get in there, and like AJ's in the front of the room, and I was like, wow, she's a stud. She's a stud. She's special.
Powerhouse.
You're the best. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. All the best, everybody.
What a guy. Here are a few of my favorite takeaways from my conversation with Rory. Number one, you can create more time. How about that? You can create more time. How often do you hear people say, but I don't have enough time? Look, I'm guilty of it too. This thinking, though, it's rooted in limited belief systems, right? It's a limiting belief that tells us that we can't create more time. But Rory flipped the script, right, to tell us how we can change our story. In other words, we can eliminate this excuse from our vocabulary today. Number two, spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. This one to me is incredibly important. I love the question that Rory asks. What is the impact of this task on the future? It's something I've started to lean into because significance, it's the X factor that can help you multiply your time. Look, we know this as business owners, as leaders, as people that want to lead. Our ability to scale our time allows us to make a greater impact. Number three, when you have diluted focus, you have diluted results. With so many competing demands on our time today, all of us, it can be so easy to get into the habit of multitasking. This one is a solid reminder that you get out what you put in. Diluted focus equals diluted results. Trust me, I am a recovering multitask addict. I used to think, gosh, I can do these 2-3 things at once, but what I found over time is the result was compromised. Diluted focus equals diluted results. Be intentional about avoiding the multitasking habit so that you can make your greatest impact. Thanks, as always, for listening to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. There you can listen to previous episodes and leave us a review, which helps other people find out about the show. This episode was edited and sound designed by the team at Sound On Studios. You can find out more about their work at soundonsoundoff.com. Check it out. For more about me, visit mollyfletcher.com. Until next time, stay curious and be bold.